if you look at their opening schedule, they could go to Baylor and lose because Baylor's a really good team with an explosive offense. Their first two SEC games at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, they could lose those games. Then Georgia comes in, they could lose that. They could start out 2-4, and everything just completely blow up in their face. So this is a team that you just don't know what's going to happen. It absolutely is a wild card team in the
Yeah,
season.
yeah, their over under for wins is 7.5,
Yep.
even though the 7.5 is over is -160. So it's more like 8. And that would mean if they hit the 8 mark, it's 8-4, which I'm sure Baylor fans take that, I guess, after what they've been through lately. But I know they want more. And then you take a look at the schedule, as you said. So the Baylor one, yep, absolute huge one. They're a 2.5-point favorite on the road. And there are some people who believe Baylor might end up as the best team in the Big 12.
Right. And if you're the best team in the Big 12, you're in the playoffs. So that's what they're going into this season thinking. And, Auburn wants to step up, and now this is a true road game. This is not played in Dallas or Atlanta or wherever. This is going to be at McLean Stadium in Waco, Texas. It's not going to be easy for Auburn just to walk in there and win
No.
a game like that. So this is a really tough. Now the backside of the schedule is really favorable to Auburn, sure, but starting 2-4, it may be too much to overcome. I don't know if they can overcome something like that. We'll see. But the backside of it, you got a bunch of home games. You got winnable away games. You got Alabama Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare Stadium. So Auburn could possibly go 5-1 or 6-0 on the backside of that schedule,
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah.
But
So
2-4, buddy, you just got to find a
no.
way to win 3 or 4 games in the first half, and then hit that back half and really hit your stride, and maybe you get to 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah, that's why the Baylor game would be
It's
that
big.
important. And the
Yes,
thing
very
is,
big.
too, is Baylor, even though it's not a conference game, but Baylor actually could afford the loss more than Auburn because we're talking SEC versus Big 12. And I just think the Big 12 is going to have another one of those years. I don't think anything's going to change. It's going to be another one of those years like last year where anything can happen.
Yeah.
Whoever is predicted 12th can win. Nobody knows what's going to
Oh
happen
yeah.
in the Big
No
12.
doubt. No doubt.
So
I
I
agree
think
with you.
Baylor could afford a loss and be just fine. But yeah, Auburn. And are you surprised they're the 2.5-point favorite?
A little bit. But I think that's a bonus for Baylor, right? I mean,
It
a
should
team
be
like Baylor is going to spend the whole offseason saying, we're going to get a chance to knock off an SEC team at home, game
at home
one, and
as a
we're the
dog.
underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just that's a tough place. Auburn has got to play really well to come out there with a W, and they should be happy. Whatever happens, if they can come out there with a win, any way they can get it done, get it done.
And here's that really tough 3-game stretch: Oklahoma, Texas A&M, back-to-back weeks on the road,
Yep.
and then the week off before they take on
Yeah.
Georgia. And at least they get Georgia at home. How has that rivalry been with Georgia lately? Regarding have they been close? Has Georgia really just handled them pretty easily over the years? Because it seems to me that, and maybe not a surprise, because Alabama Auburn is just a different animal, that those games have actually been a lot more tighter than the Georgia games. But how have they been?
Well, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but up until about 15 years ago, it was a dead even series. In fact,
Okay.
the points, I can remember, every time I would cover an Auburn Georgia game, there'd be, um, the the notes before the game, the points would be almost even over, 100 years. It'd be 1,020 points to 1,000 and, 25 points or something crazy like that. But the past 15 or so years, I feel like, Georgia's won, I don't know, 11-4, 12-3. I mean, I think they've dominated this series.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm stretching a little bit. Maybe it's not that long, but it's been rough, really rough. Auburn's been better against Alabama than they have against Georgia. And this is a night game at Jordan-Hare Stadium with a week off to prepare.
Yep.
So, this is a game Auburn needs to play well in and be competitive, and they have not been very competitive against Georgia here lately at all.
Yeah, matter of fact, I mean, we know Oklahoma on the road is no gimme, and they'll you would think at this point that they would be the dog, but Oklahoma has yet to prove to anybody either that they're different team.
Yep.
So
And Jackson Arnold opening SEC game back at his old school too. So
yep,
yeah,
that
just don't
could
know
be,
what to expect. Yep.
Yeah, it could be good, could be bad. It's one of those things
Yeah.
that you don't know until the game's over, and then you have the storyline. Well, you see, and the Texas A&M game is going to be equally, even more tougher than I think than the Oklahoma game, because they're going to have a really good team this year. Another quarterback with a little bit more experience, but like you said, after that, then with Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy. These are all games that if they have turned the corner, they actually should win. If they have turned the corner, truly.
Right. That now, if they play like they have the last few years, they're going to lose 1, 2, or 3
yeah,
of those games.
At least, yes.
If they've taken a step or two forward this season, those are all winnable games going into the finale against Alabama at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Even when Auburn's been bad with Alabama, those games have been close at Jordan-Hare at least. So we'll see.
I'd say if Auburn beats Baylor in that opener, they will definitely go over 7.5 for a variety of reasons.
Oh, I agree. It's a big game. It really is. Yep.
I'm not saying if they lose that they still can't get over 7.5. And I don't know when you're going to make your final prediction on the season, but what does your gut tell you at this early stage of whether or not you think Auburn is going to be a 8-win team at the least?
Man,
only 4 losses.
I haven't even done this yet. I'm going to be really conservative and say 7-5.
7-5.
Just break the losing streak. I do think they can be better than that. I do think they can win 8 or maybe 9 games. Right? I absolutely believe that, but I'm not going to predict that. I've seen too much losing here lately. I got to, I'm Missouri on the whole thing. So give me 7-5. If they're better than that, they can throw eggs at me or whatever. I don't care,
Taking a look at the schedule, we mentioned Marshall, and then you got Austin Peay. So this is like the exhibition season, the preseason for Georgia, and then they ramp it up with the road game against Tennessee. So what do you think about the schedule? What are the highs and lows of the schedule as we roll through here?
Yeah, I think, I mentioned kind of at the top, like Georgia's one of these teams that, I think they can win a national championship, but they got to prove it to me. Like going into last year, obviously it didn't work out for Georgia, but I was like, okay, this team has what it takes to win a championship. I think this team does, but I need to see it. And I think we'll know a lot more after those first 2 SEC games. If they beat Tennessee and beat Alabama and do it, and not necessarily convincingly, but look good while doing so, then it's like, okay, this team can take off from there. If they squeak by Tennessee and lose by 10 to Alabama at home, then it's like, okay, well, maybe they need to recalibrate expectations. So that's huge. And then at Auburn is that's always just a weird game because Jordan-Hare is built on an Indian burial ground or whatever. I think you flip it from last year, right? So your toughest opponents are at home. Alabama's at home. Texas is at home. I would probably put Ole Miss as that third toughest opponent. That's at home. Florida and Jacksonville. I still think Georgia's got the talent edge on Florida. So Florida's obviously getting there. But again, DJ Lagway, all these injury concerns, like is DJ Lagway your starter by the time the 7th or 8th game of the season comes around?
Oh, if he's not, they're in big trouble.
Yeah. So
yep.
I think the schedule works out pretty good. You get a bye before Alabama. You get a bye before Florida, as always. So yeah, and I think they play Georgia Tech on Black Friday again, which if they're in a position to make the SEC championship, it's one more day of rest, assuming it doesn't go to 8 overtimes again, which that would be the parlay of the century if you bet on that. So, if we're looking at the win total here, I'd go over 9.5 just because I think this is a team that is in position to get better as the season goes along. And last year's team didn't do that. We saw that in 2023 kind of, and last year we didn't see it. I think this year the team will get better as the year goes along. So by the time they get to Texas, to Ole Miss, to Florida, I think they'll be getting better. And you've got your toughest test at home. So I don't see Georgia losing. Again, there is absolutely a scenario where it happens, but I think they get by Tennessee and Knoxville, and I think they've got enough to get by Auburn at Jordan Hare. So then it's like, okay, even if you go 1-2 against those big three at home, then
Sure.
you're 10-2 and probably in the playoffs. So yeah, I'd go over 9.5. But yeah, it's again, I think they've got what it takes, but I need them to validate that opinion before I really switch from pencil to pen on that
Yeah,
one.
I hear you. It's a very interesting year, I think, for Georgia because of the fact that we're really starting to get to that point now where, with all the transfers and everybody, you can't build these 3 deep, 4 or 5-star
Mhm.
teams anymore. You just can't do it. And so when you have injuries, things of that nature, then you're going to rely on other players that you normally wouldn't have to rely on. You'd be bringing in your next wave of superstars. You don't have that anymore.
Mhm.
So I think it's a very interesting time that, not to say that, I mean, obviously what happened with Alabama, they lost Saban. So you can't really, who knows what would have happened with them but again, Saban's gone and it is what it is. So, and as we talked about, there's so much competition in the SEC that nowadays, especially this season, I think last season was a little bit more like when it had those 3 lost teams. Again, I think there was reason where you looked at some of the games on the schedule where good teams were like Alabama getting blown out by what was it, Oklahoma or something like that. I forget who they were blown out by.
Mhm.
And then losing to Vanderbilt, even though Vanderbilt was better, but still it's Vanderbilt. I don't know about that this year. I think I think that this year's better conference competition this year. So I think if you're a 3-loss team, and I think there might be, several 2 and 3 loss teams this year out of the SEC because there's just so much competition.
Yeah, and you look at the top, these top 8 in the odds here. Texas, new quarterback. Ohio State, new quarterback. Georgia, pretty much new quarterback. Penn State, you return Drew Aller, but is anybody 100% sold on Drew Aller? And also, I mean, James Franklin, yeah.
Well, he's the biggest
playoff
issue.
game.
James Franklin. Yes,
I mean,
that's
yeah,
the biggest.
you get credit for winning a playoff game, but
Yeah.
it was at home against the team you easily should have beaten, and then you beat Boise State. So
Yeah.
Alabama, new quarterback. Oregon, new quarterback. Notre Dame, new quarterback.
That's it.
So and then the teams that have got the top quarterbacks, like LSU. Okay, LSU's got Garrett Nussmeier. Great. Are they as deep and talented as probably Texas and Georgia? Like, probably not. Like, I think Clemson is the closest. Like, they've got the quarterback and they've got the talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And they play in a conference where they're still, I don't know what their schedule is off the top of my head, but they're in a conference where, especially if they beat LSU week 1, you're looking pretty good if you're Clemson. So yeah, it's weird. It's a weird, like, again, the teams with the best quarterbacks aren't necessarily the best teams 1 through 4.
True.
Right.
And that's why that's what makes it interesting.
So
because
we'll
that's all you have to do is have
a-
one of those great games by a quarterback, and you can get upset.
I mean, you think back to Clemson in 21, where DJ Uiagalelei had those great games in 2020, and you're like, okay, Clemson's going to move on from Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
They're good to go.
Yeah.
And then it never really clicked.
Yeah.
And, does that happen at Ohio State or Alabama or
exactly.
or Texas with Arch? I mean, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
We think we know Arch is going to be good and Julian Saban's going to be good, and but we don't know. So there's simultaneously, again, like, there's the unknowns, but there's also, like, yeah, you think Georgia's going to be fine. You think Ohio State's going to be fine. So it's going to be interesting. Like, it's a good way to wrap it up.
It's going to be fun. Yeah.
I can't wait for week 1 because you get Texas, Ohio State, you get Alabama, Florida State.
Notre Dame takes on Miami is nice.
Notre Dame, Miami,
yeah,
the hate watch of the century for Georgia fans. So, I mean, who they said in SEC, who's to say Carson Beck doesn't get back to 23 form and Miami goes?
You don't. Yeah,
right?
He could.
You don't know. So,
yeah.
It's going to be awesome, man. College football is always awesome, but it's so wide open, and it's up for the taking this year. I think, especially with the 12-team playoff, how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I can go. The only 2 teams that I don't have a lot of faith on doing anything interesting are the 2 bottom teams. Other than that, and that's not even. And of course, I still have a lot of respect for Stoops and Shapen if he's healthy. Maybe Mississippi State, wins a few more games, but other than that, in any of these teams, even I think Missouri is going to be better than people think. I think Arkansas has got Petrino guiding that young quarterback for a second season, so their offense is going to be fine. And I think Vanderbilt is still going to be. I don't know why Vanderbilt's win total is 5.5. I know it's probably because of the schedule. They have a very tough schedule, but how do you win 7 games last year? You come back with a better team this year, and you got 5.5 on the win total. So this is a stacked. Oklahoma finally might have a quarterback. Auburn might finally have a quarterback. So this entire conference is just going to be loaded from week to week when you play these teams. There's just no weeks. I mean, and I know they've said this stuff in the past, but I've never seen it this deep and this good before.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk yourself into a lot in this league this year. Like you can, but then again, you can flip it. Like, okay, does Austin Simmons tank at Ole Miss? Does the Tennessee thing turn into a train wreck? Like, and then somebody's got to. How do the standings shake out from there? It's going to be just it's going to be fascinating. I think
that's the fun part of it. Yep,
the way to really put it.
Oklahoma sits here. Where are we? We're in the SEC numbers. They are 8, 9. They are the 10th choice. Vegas has them 10th choice at 28-1, tied with Auburn, and there's a big gap after that. As you mentioned, there are a lot of people that are looking at Oklahoma. I think the biggest reason is definitely this year. With that defense and with Venables, that does happen the problem. Everybody knows that. And then now that program gets a quarterback. So that's what I think us outsiders probably see. But I will say that the one thing that holds even me back as an outsider from wondering whether or not they can really have a special season is just I haven't seen it yet from Brent Venables as a head coach. And that's the thing that we just all have to see. Now, maybe it'll click. I've seen questionable coaching, first-timers struggle for a few years, and then boom, they have that big year, and then 10 or 15 years later, they're considered one of the best coachings in the industry. So what do you think? What's your observation about Venables as a head coach, and where's the fan base on Venables?
Yeah, well, fan base is very divided. A lot of folks would, I think, even before the 2024 campaign was over, a lot of folks were ready to cut bait. They saw him as responsible for the outcome of the 2024 season, which realistically, you can't pin that on one single individual. Can't pin it on Venables, can't pin it on the ex-offensive coordinator, Seth Luttrell. It was fired mid-season. Can't pin it on the starting quarterback, Jackson Arnold. Look, when you have the litany of injuries that Oklahoma had to deal with a season ago, the ceiling is only so high for an operation that was so beset by hardship in that department. So the fan base is divided, as you would expect for a guy that's gone 6-7, 10-3, and 6-7 in his 3 years as head coach. But I think he's easily got his best roster to date in 2025.
It does look like that.
He also faces his toughest schedule to date in 2025.
It does look like that.
So yes, it's a matter of which outweighs the other. And I think when Michigan comes to town on September 6th, that will be an early barometer of where things stand in that regard.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was looking at their win totals, and their win total. This really surprised me. I had to do a double take to see am I getting this right? That they only have 6.5 wins for Oklahoma. Now, I get it in a way when you think about it. You just went over the records. And they haven't put themselves in that position of being a dominant SEC team yet, or even be on that level with Venables. But still, when I look at the schedule, and I know it's tough, but they have the 3 wins that you just give them, say. So really, it's if I think Oklahoma is going to win 7 or more games, all I need to do for Oklahoma is see the Sooners do is go 4-5 against the other 9 games. And why can't they do that? I mean, I'm not even asking them to go 500 against the tough part of their schedule. So I'm a little bit surprised that it's only 6.5.
Yeah, I think when you look at the way that the schedule lines up too, Greg, what you'll notice is that it's backloaded. Now, Oklahoma always plays Texas in the Cotton Bowl, second Saturday in October, one of the iconic rivalries in college football. Everybody's aware of it. And it is always the fulcrum on which Oklahoma's season swings. There is so much that is dictated by the outcome of that Texas game for both programs. And so that is going to be the defining moment, the defining week for Oklahoma. But if you look at the front half of the schedule, the 5 games leading into Texas, they play Illinois State. They play Michigan at home. They play Temple. They play Auburn once again at home. And then they play Kent State. There is, I would say, a likelihood at this point that Oklahoma is going into Dallas 5-0 because they should be able to hold serve on their home field against a program in Michigan that's dealing with some injury issues of their own right now, and maybe starting a true freshman quarterback in Bryce Underwood. And then I don't know what in the heck's going on down at Auburn. They have 3 offensive coordinators and 3 quarterbacks that they want to play, one of which is former Oklahoma starter Jack Donald.
That'll be fun.
I don't know, man. Like, and who knows? Maybe I feel completely different when I see them week 1 against Baylor, but that's kind of feeling like it might be a dumpster fire in 2025 to me. So that is a very, very winnable 5-game stretch. Like you can run the table with those first 5 games, no question. However, Texas hits, and that's going to be a challenge because it always is, regardless of how those 2 teams stack up on paper. It's a war every year between those 2 programs. And the back half of the schedule, the final 6 games, is an absolute, I don't know if there's a team in the country that faces a tougher 6-game stretch than Oklahoma has to deal with in that second half. Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU, and of course it all starts right on the other side of the Texas game. They get a bye week, but then they got to go out to Columbia, South Carolina, to Williams-Brice Stadium to take on a program that whipped them 35-9 in their building a season ago. So Oklahoma needs to go 5-0 to start the season, because I think if they don't have that momentum, if they don't have the wind in their sails that going 5-0 to start the year would give them, then, man, I think that schedule down the stretch, the meat of SEC conference play, just looks even more perilous for this program.
Yeah, I guess, and you would know more than me. You just said it as far as how the teams react after the loss. But you would think if it's a close game and they're competitive and they're 5-0, that it wouldn't affect them as much. And I will say this: whoever loses that game, and let's say it's Oklahoma, just take a little bit of a, take a little bit of a reminder of what happened last year with Ohio State and how they were able to rebound after losing their pivotal rival game, especially the way that they've been losing in Michigan the last several years. So you can do it. And that's really what makes a really great team sometimes. And that's what made Ohio State a great team last year, was showing adversity when you lose the big one. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. Very tough schedule, second half of the season. There are absolutely no gimmies at all once you get past Kent State. But still, I think they can at least go 4-5 in those 9 games, which is why I think that they're at the very least a 7-win team, if not a team that can win 9 games and put themselves in a position for a playoff spot. What do you think about Oklahoma's chances for a playoff this year?
Yeah, well, I think with that schedule, and obviously a lot depends on what other resumes around the country look like on Selection Sunday, but you have a very strong case if you go 9-3.
Yes.
You have a very strong case for an at-large bid to the college football playoff. So if Oklahoma can eke out 9 wins, yeah, man, they've given themselves a chance. At the very least, it's going to be a conversation point amongst the committee on Selection Sunday. Does Oklahoma deserve to be in? And I think a lot of it will boil down to the eye test. But here's kind of the nature of life in the SEC, Greg. Every game is winnable and every game is losable.
Yeah,
for
that's
instance,
pretty much it. Yeah.
Nothing illustrates this point more clearly than last August, when everybody in the Oklahoma market, local media, was trying to figure out what the 2024 campaign would bring and who was going to be good and who wasn't going to be good in the conference. You know what was the one game that everybody pretty much had Sharpied in as a win on Oklahoma's calendar in SEC play? It was South Carolina. That was the opinion of South Carolina at that point was, oh, South Carolina, especially at home. Yeah, that's a win for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
No question. If you can't guarantee anything else in SEC
Sure.
play, you can guarantee they're going to beat South Carolina on their home field. And it was the most lopsided game of the year
Yeah.
for Oklahoma. I mean, maybe not as far as the score is concerned. I guess they did lose by more points to Texas. But that South Carolina game was over in the first 6 minutes. They trailed 21-0. It was never competitive. And so, again, that's life in the SEC.
Yeah, it is.
You can't take anything for granted, and you also can't guarantee that our opinions of those opponents, for better or worse, will square with reality whenever those games actually come around in October and November.
Yeah, that's why I always say myself, if you think you have a good team, and let's just say you have a good team, the schedule will take care of itself. If you just have a good team, then you're going to win games. And that's just as simple as that. No matter how tough or easy the schedule is, or at least the way it looks before the season begins, doesn't matter. You have a good team, you're going to figure it out. See, let's pop up the schedule if we get a chance first. And what do you think? Because I believe the win total for Ole Miss is 8.5. Who would have thought that the win total for Ole Miss would be just 8.5? But that's what the deal is. Taking a look at their schedule, I'm going to pop that in here. And let's see. Yeah. What do you think? Because I'm looking at the schedule right now, and they've got, a couple of tough road games, but for the most part, it's not that bad of a schedule again, it's SEC. You can't avoid everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing, when you talk about win totals, at least for me, I'll blurt out, I could see them going 10-2. I don't know where the second loss comes from, but that's what I feel this team is. I think Lane Kiffin's proven that. Mm-hmm. And if they were to drop down, I still see him as a 9-win team. And part of that's the schedule. If Austin Simmons is the guy he looks like, that he has the potential to be long-term,
yeah,
I see them winning 9-10 games. And again, until Lane Kiffin gives me a reason not to pick 10 wins, I'll stick with 10. But they go to Georgia. Georgia hasn't lost at home much. That's a really difficult game. The only way I could see, I don't want to say only way, but man, if Georgia's offense is ugly this year, like poor, I could see Ole Miss winning that game. But I also think that's just because the matchup,
sure,
favors Ole Miss if Georgia's offense does not step up with their new quarterback.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, you got to feel good about them being competitive with teams like LSU and South Carolina. And then outside of that, you look at the schedule like, all right, this is pretty, they should be able to kind of handle some of these things. We'll see how Florida is if DJ Lagway is healthy. But yeah, I say 9-10 wins, and I tend to err on the side of 10.
Yeah, because you got LSU, South Carolina, Florida. 3 of the 5 toughest games on the schedule are at home. Yep. And the second toughest schedule on the team on the road is Oklahoma. And it's not like Oklahoma's done anything yet in the SEC. And lots the one thing they have that some of these other teams don't have is they've got a veteran quarterback that's thrown for a bunch of yards, and he's got to do it though now in the SEC. And Venables also has got to win, something that Lane Kiffin already knows how to do. So yeah, it certainly looks like to me that Ole Miss, if they have a good season, they're probably going to be favored in every game except the road game at Georgia.
That's kind of my thought. I just don't. And it was funny, the AP poll came out today, and Ole Miss was 21st. The coaches had Ole Miss all the way up at 15. It's interesting to see some of those changes between the polls, and Ole Miss seems to be one of the few that gets hit with that from the AP from time to time. I wonder why.
Yeah, right. And then you've got Ole Miss sitting there as the 6th choice as far as Vegas is concerned at DraftKings to win the SEC at 16-1. So
It's not bad money on that.
No, it's not bad at all. Again, because like you said, I mean, that's the great fun part this year about the SEC is that the 3 top teams right now, as far as Vegas is concerned, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, they don't have any proven quarterbacks. You can say what you want about Arch Manning, but he hasn't done anything yet. And same thing with Gunner. So, I think Alabama's got a nice young quarterback as well, but these are all unproven guys. And even Texas A&M, we still have Marcel Reeds, of course, a little bit more experience in these guys, but still don't know what he's going to do. You mentioned Lagway. Tennessee's got a veteran, but that kid's played in the Sun Belt. And LSU's got the best quarterback, but, they haven't proven it yet, LSU under Brian Kelly. So it's going to be a lot of fun. This SEC, I tell you what, this SEC as a Big Ten guy, I fully admit the SEC from top to almost bottom, it's just loaded. It's like I can envision the 13th place team being an SEC contender. That's how loaded this is. If everything were to go like perfectly for that team, whoever that is.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's that competitive. And I think this is one of, at least preseason for me, one of the most exciting years to cover for those reasons that you mentioned. And I would love to see it go a little bit haywire and have it kind of be a little unconventional as far as who goes to Atlanta and who makes it in the playoff. And let's have some chaos and let's do it.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see Georgia and Texas in the SEC championship game.
The Arch Manning hype, I think he's going to be phenomenal, by the way, for the record. So I do think Texas is probably going to be in the SEC championship, but Georgia somehow continuing to make it there with some of the offensive play that they continue to roll out is just mind-boggling to me. So everybody else has to step up in the SEC, I guess.
Yeah, there's a bunch of teams that could be sleepers this year, and I just think there's too many options to not have one of them be like right there at the end with a shot. I just think we're just guessing who it's going to be. That's the tough part.